De la mà de l'Obra Social la Caixa i l'Institut de Física d'Altes Energies, el prestigiós físic britànic Peter Higgs va compartir la seva experiència a CosmoCaixa Barcelona. En primera persona va explicar l'apassionant història del bosó de Higgs, element central del mecanisme que permetria explicar el fet que la matèria tingui massa. Els treballs del Dr. Higgs són una autèntica fita en la comprensió de l'univers. Recentment, l'Organització Europea per la Investigació Nuclear va fer públic el descobriment d'una nova partícula subatòmica amb les propietats del bosó de Higgs, el que fa d'aquesta trobada un esdeveniment de rellevància internacional.
I would like Professor Higgs to wholeheartedly welcome you in CosmoCaixa. It is a great date for us, and we are very grateful that you accepted the invitation of the Institute of Physics and CosmoCaixa and la Caixa Foundation to come here.
Hem descobert una nova partícula que potser és una partícula fonamental. Té tota la pinta de ser el bosó que va proposar el professor Higgs ja 48 anys, el 1964. Ara, jo us vull explicar com es troba una nova partícula. Aquest és el punt essencial d'aquesta breu xerrada. Doncs totes les partícules que no estan als àtoms, és a dir, que no són protons, quarks, electrons, duren molt poc, tenen una vida molt breu, perquè es desintegren les altres. Però el propòsit principal d'ensenyar-vos aquesta gràfica és de dir-vos les noves partícules es descobreixen buscant pics, buscant acumulacions de esdeveniments per ser el valor de la massa. Així és com hem trobat el bosó de Higgs. Trobar el bosó de Higgs és la missió central del Large Hadron Collider del CERN, que ha entrat en marxa fa quasi bé 3 anys i que és l'accelerador més potent que s'hagi construït mai.
So the weak forces are carried by very heavy objects. It turns out that there's a symmetry involved in this, if we write down the theory. And these things, which are 90 times more massive than the proton, or roughly speaking that, the theory will not work if we just say, well, let's just take the theory and start with the masses and just put the masses in by hand. If you do that, the calculation that you can do just simply does not work. So what you have to do is you have to put the mass in to this theory without spoiling the underlying symmetry. So Peter comes along, and although, as Peter will point out, he writes down these equations. These equations are a toy model where, in fact, he uses a trick. And what you do is you don't put the masses in by hand, but you tweak that potential in such a way as when you break the vacuum and you don't break the symmetry remains there. You change the ground state of the theory. So, without going into details, you've kept the underlying hidden symmetry, which means that the theory works, it calculates, it's so-called renormalizable, but you've actually paid the price as you've made them massive, but you have one leftover Higgs boson. And the parameter in the theory that determines the mass of the Higgs boson, because it acquires mass along the way, is not fixed in the theory.
Amb la xerrada inventant una partícula elemental, parlant des d'una perspectiva molt personal i fent un repàs de la seva carrera com a físic teòric, Higgs ens va introduir en un món invisible on es construeixen les propietats fonamentals del que coneixem com a realitat.
Well, for me, this is my first visit to Barcelona and Catalonia, and it's a great pleasure to be here, and I'd like to thank the organizers of this meeting for inviting me and for their great hospitality, which has made my visit so enjoyable. Nambu had recognized that in the theory of superconductors, a feature which might prove useful in particle physics. He could generate their masses as a consequence of this so-called spontaneous symmetry breaking in the vacuum. It was something which occurred to me over a rather short period of time, over a weekend in July, and I realized that what I already knew about gauge invariance in quantum electrodynamics was the clue to curing the Nambu difficulty, or the Nambu-Goldstone difficulty. It became obvious that what did happen was that as a consequence of spontaneous symmetry breaking, the force-carrying particle, the quantum of the Maxwell field, behaved as if it had some mass. The second short paper that I wrote and sent to physics letters, which wrote down this theoretical model, which was the simplest one I could devise for making my point about what actually happened in this mass generation, was rejected. But the second paper was showing what the physics would be, and they didn't want it. So I added some extra remarks to my previous very short paper, which had been, I think, no more than one side of A4. And amongst the remarks I made, there would always be at least one particle left over, which was a spin zero particle, which was massive. And that is what became known as later as the Higgs boson. Before the technological developments in particle physics, the way to build high-energy machines, colliders, and the way to process the information that you get out of it has reached the stage when the experimentalists could make a discovery. Thank you.
Obra Social La Caixa, l'ànima de la Caixa.